a quote from Lifeson that I covered in that video. Lifeson said that he absolutely loved performing live and doing Rush material with Geddy Lee. He was excited. He said that it felt good to be backstage with the musicians, that he felt the vibe, and he was really excited. Well, here's what he was quoted as saying. He says, "The energy was fantastic at that show. And some days I want to go out and tour again. And some days I don't. For 40 years, Rush included Neil. And I don't think that putting some version together would have the same magic. Rush went out on a high note, and I guess I'd rather be remembered for that legacy than returning as the top Rush tribute band." End of quote. And so I'm wondering if Anika's presence will be enough. It's not like she has a pedigree that reaches back to Rush, or does she? You see, because when she drummed for Jeff Beck was known for a lot of his stuff changing from his original blues roots stuff. And I saw it wasn't unlike a lot of the beats we hear from Rush and everything. So I could see her at least in for contention. But what does she have to offer? Well, here's what Geddy Lee says. First of all, when he talks about Neil, here's what he says about Neil. Neil was a storyteller behind the kit. Every fill, every rhythm he played was like a bigger narrative. His drumming was like a symphony, layered, composed, and full of intention. Now keep that last word in mind. He said Neil approached drumming architecturally. He designed drum parts like he was building a cathedral. Now, what does he have to say about Anika? He says Anika approaches it more like a painter. She lets the colors blend more naturally. So is he saying she drums on the fly a bit? That almost sounds like what he's saying. Her sense of groove and time is impeccable. Okay, groove and time. So that the groove and time must be slightly different from Neil. I mean, he's saying what she has to offer, and he didn't mention this with Neil, right? Groove and time is impeccable, but she's also playful. Wasn't Neil playful? I can say, yeah, maybe he wasn't playful. Maybe he was busy building that cathedral that he was talking about. But that's what he says. She's playful, and she brings an incredible, fluid, organic energy to the music. She is spontaneous in a way that feels alive and immediate. So what are my thoughts on this whole idea? First of all, just looking at her drumming, and I've seen her, I watched her, hours and hours of her drumming over the years, right? And all I can say is color me freaking impressed. She's great. Okay, so her pedigree, what she has to offer as a musician on stage is impeccable, and I don't see any of the other drummers that were mentioned as being any better than her, maybe closer in style to Neil Peart. Is this even Rush? Now, Doc had a comment on the original stream saying, with Alex and Geddy, they've got 66% of Rush. That's not exactly a tribute band, right? And yet, Alex Lifeson says he identified such a project 9 months ago as being nothing more than that. Yet they are touring as Rush. It's not like they're touring as Lifeson, Lee, and what is it really? I want to say Niles, but Nilles. A Rush tribute. They could have chose to do that, right? But no, they're touring as Rush. Okay, so the idea of, first of all, I will agree with each and every one of you who says that Neil Peart is irreplaceable. Of course he is. Of course he is. I don't care if you found a drummer that was technically 10 times better than him. That's not Neil. That's not Neil's style. That's not Neil's thumbprint. That's not Neil's feel. And anything in the future will not have Neil's lyrics unless they find some old notebooks lying around. Get ready for that, right? But at the same time, I find myself kind of excited about this concert. And you guys know me, I'm not really one to get excited about bands who have said goodbye, sayonara, and then coming back out of the woodwork to make a fast buck. And if both Alex and Geddy are to be believed, this happened quite organically. They even used that word at one point. They were over Alex would come over to Geddy's studio, and they would jam every single weekend, and they would jam on Rush songs, some new ideas. They said they recorded along the way and everything, and it just seemed to kind of happen. Let's really explore what they had to offer. They can't be what they were. Neil's not there. Geddy doesn't have the higher end chops, but he still sings good, and they could really interpret this band and give it a great send-off, and then say goodbye. Put a nice cap on the career. Don't drag this out forever. You've got a great legacy as it is. One of the few bands that have a relatively unstained legacy, and every time a band decides to, dip their toe back into the touring circuit waters, they run the risk of damaging their legacy. I've talked about such bands. The Eagles have damaged their legacy, as far as I'm concerned, so much. A lot of their original fans don't even care for them anymore. I, on the other hand, I love their old records. I'm going to get all the old Eagle records, I have no problem with that, but I wouldn't pay a damn dime to go see them. I wouldn't cross the street to see them free, just out of curiosity, And I once climbed a eucalyptus tree because I didn't have a ticket to see them. Okay, so they've damaged their legacy, at least with me. And I'm not the only one out there. And there are a lot of people who don't agree with me and will say, actually, their legacy is fine. And they're extending it. And if that's what you believe, that's fine. I don't feel that way. But it'd be interesting to hear if you guys do as well. But is Rush in danger of hurting their legacy here? Or is it an opportunity to enhance it? The ball is in their court, folks.